Let's talk about this now with Marc Short. He was formerly the chief of staff to Vice President Mike Pence and was White House Legislative Affairs Director during the first Trump administration. He's now the board chair for Advancing American Freedom. I wonder what you think about the president's messaging, how it's working for or not working for Republicans, and what is going to be this key election year.
Well, I think there's part of it that he's right. I think he has lowered energy prices by 25%. His push to increase supply does have an impact to lowering prices, which is terrific. I think he's right that markets are at all-time highs, S&P up roughly 16% this year, and he should be talking about those accomplishments. However, the reality is that for a lot of Americans, prices are still up, and to dismiss affordability as a hoax, I think creates a disconnect with a lot of voters, particularly in middle America, who are struggling with continued problems of inflation. And I think, in a lot of ways, Brianna, when you've lowered energy prices by 25%, it exacerbates the challenge of what this trade policy is when you still see inflation driving prices up. In spite of a 25% reduction in energy prices, prices should be coming down with that sort of achievement on the energy side.
Yeah, because listen, when you're talking to people who now are going to multiple grocery stores, right, to manage their grocery bill, who have gotten rid of the steak and gone to chicken, or have gotten rid of the chicken and gone to beans and rice, I mean, that's a different thing, right? So he has I guess he could look back at how Biden messaged on the economy. And it didn't always go over well, as he was trying to tell people that things were better and they weren't feeling it. What is that sweet spot for Trump and Republicans to be commiserating with Americans, even as they're kind of starting to own this economy?
Well, I think it's a little bit different because I think with Biden, the perceptive was that he's aloof and not in touch. I think with the president, I don't think there's a question about his energy level and the fact that he's in touch, but I think there's a sense that he's intentionally not.
You don't think that there's a question about whether he's in touch economically?
I think there's a different question, which is why is he not want to admit that his trade policy is not working, so he messages it a different way. And I think that's a concern. I think Republicans are probably glad to see him out on the campaign trail. It's probably helpful, but I think there has to be an appreciation that says, look, inflation was at 9% in the Biden years. I've brought it down to 3%. Here's what I'm going to do to continue to fight it, as opposed to saying for a lot of voters, this is merely a hoax and you're not really feeling it.
Well, he's also seen inflation go up since he started.
Again,
I hear your number, but that's not where it's at, right? So he's actually seen perhaps some inflationary policies.
Sure, but it did peak. It did peak at 9% during the Biden years, and I think it's down from that. But,
sure.
But again, I've been critical, as you know, that if you're going to lower energy prices the way he has, then naturally other prices should be coming down too, and they're not. And I think it's because the trade agenda is not working.
So Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, said on a podcast this week that for the midterms, they're going to put him on the ballot because so many of those low propensity voters are Trump voters. This is her plan. This is the plan that she's talking about there. Do you think that works? Is that the right move?
I think it's the right move. I think it's a question of whether it works. I think certainly in 2018, that's what we tried. But the reality is there's a certain number of voters who only turn out for Donald Trump and do not turn out for other Republicans. And so there are other Republicans who are going to be saddled with the economy if it's not turned around by the time that November reaches.
The health care vote looking increasingly likely, and we've talked about this before. You've talked a lot about it. It's looking increasingly likely that Congress, led by Republicans, is going to allow these enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies to expire at the end of the year. These are premiums for 2026 that we're talking about. Just days away here that would be going up. Should Republican leadership be worried that this is only going to compound these concerns of voters when it comes to this affordability crisis?
Sure, they should be worried about it. I think the reality, as you said, it's affordability is a concern for a lot of people. They don't want to see their premiums going up. I think it turns out that the Affordable Care Act was actually not that affordable. And so I don't discourage Republicans from voting against increasing the subsidies. And I don't think if you say instead of giving it to insurance companies, we're going to give it directly to people, actually solves it either. The costs are going to continue to go up. But I do think that Republicans should be advancing free market reforms, and that's kind of missing in the debate right now.
Marc Short, always great to get your perspective. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
For having me.